It's not okay to be in a choir and be singing and playing the same way for the past 5 years. Otherwise, join the ushering team or join the Red Cross. The last time we spoke about scales and modes, and I think it flew over a few people's heads. So this is meant to break it down to the very basics. So let's talk about scales. What are scales? What on earth are scales? Well, scales are just a succession of notes built on a predefined formula. So the formula is what guides what notes must come after the next. So in music, we have a way of determining the interval or the distance before one note or the other. So you hear notes or words like tone, semitone. They are synonymous to what we have in math, like kilometers, centimeters. So basically, an interval is just the description of the distance between two notes. In real life, you will say from Accra to Kumasi, or from this point to this point is 2 centimeters. In music, we don't talk about centimeters, we talk about intervals. Examples of intervals could be a semitone, which is the shortest distance on the keyboard. And then you have 2 semitones giving you a tone, for example. So that formula of how to move from one note to the other is what defines or gives you those succession of notes we call scales. So for example, the major scale, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, is based on the formula tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone. I think so, yeah. But you get the gist. Let's just try this and see. So what I mean is, on the keyboard, let's use C as a reference. Oh, I love this tone. So your do, your first note is, semitone will be the note immediately in front of it. So, right, semitone is also the note immediately behind it. So listen to how it sounds like. That's a semitone in front, and so the major scale is tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone, and that gives you that's the formula that gives you. So I just used the formula and I moved ascending. Ascending the scale means going up the scale in pitch, going up, going higher. So ascending. Descending is the reverse, goes. So we've established what a scale is. We said it's based on a predefined formula. An example is a major scale. Now the question is, are there other types of scale? Of course, definitely yes. So major scale is the simplest or most common to most people. Now we have other scales. You hear things like the minor scale, things like the blues scale, and they are all based on different formula. The question is, and so what? Who cares about scales? Who cares about minor scale, blues scale, Dorian, Phrygian? Well, here's why you should care. The chords that you hear in church, the chord combinations, which we call progressions, moving from one chord to the other, opens the doors of scales possibilities. So for example, if I play one chord, a major chord, there are rules that say that because I've played this major chord, there are this X number of scales that are allowed on that chord. So if you're able to understand the number of scales that work on that chord, what that means is that you can improvise more. What's improvisation? Improvisation is making a song your own. There are different types based on your enunciation and stuff. But I'm talking about improvisation, ad-lib wise, using notes, using scales. So scales just form the foundation of notes you can pick from. In fact, let's try and break it down even further. Let's just use maybe 2 or 3 scales. So the major scale, you know how it sounds like. Let's try and use, let's say, the pentatonic scale. It's the same as the major scale with a few rejects. So we are rejecting the 4th degree and the 7th degree, the fa and the ti. So it sounds like, right? This scale can work on major chords. So this is like down to like basics. There are a lot of other complicated reasons why these rules can be broken. But in simplistic terms, I have a major chord, I can play my pentatonic scale, which sounds like. So you can riff around or improvise around that scale on any major chord. So you can do. So I'm just playing around with that scale. So you get a point. The scale just opens the doors of improvisation. You can play around anyhow you want with those notes as a singer or a guitar player, but you are mindful that the scale you are playing around with is in agreement with what the keyboard player is playing or what the chord foundation of that song or that section of the song is. So we've talked about the major scale and the pentatonic scale. Now let's take the major scale to a different form of explanation. The major scale is also the same foundation where you talk about modes. People talk about modes and sometimes it can seem a bit some way, but basically modes are all the major scales referenced or started from different points. Let me explain how it means. What that means. So if I go ascending, descending, that's the major scale, also known as the Ionian scale, right? Ascending and descending. I can decide to play this very same scale, but instead of starting from your usual first degree, I might decide to start from second degree, for example, and go. So it's the same major scale, but my starting and ending point is different. So it sounds a bit in the air-ish. Listen to it again. So it sounds like a bit like ooh, you know. It's just so that's what you call your Dorian, right? Your Dorian, D Dorian. I started from the note D, but I was thinking like my D was my second degree in the major scale, which is my Re, you know, right? So the same applies for the other degrees in the modes. So you have your Ionian first one, Dorian, Phrygian, same thing. Starting from your third degree, ascending and descending, like your first degree is your third degree. So you know. So the question is in application, right? A general rule of thumb would be, for example, your Dorian, which is your second degree, and your Aeolian, your sixth degree, will work on minor chords. So sorry, let's take it back. So you have Ionian, Dorian, Phrygian, your third degree, your Lydian, fourth degree, Mixolydian, the fifth degree, very powerful mode for dominant chords as well. Then you have your Aeolian, then you have your Locrian, this is your seventh degree, your T, and obviously back to your Ionian. So let's just take two examples and give you the possibilities of what you can do if you appreciate how these scales sound like and therefore are able to improvise on these scales. So Dorian, which is your second degree, and your Aeolian, your sixth degree. So let's use a D, for example. So a D Dorian is taking your D as your Re, as I said. So if I have a minor chord, right? I'm thinking about the chord and I'm not really thinking about the key. So a very important thing to think about, and which opens the doors of possibilities when you're not restricted by the key of the song, but you're thinking about the chord. So the chord comes and like, ooh, that's a minor chord. So what are the scales that are applicable on a minor chord? An example, as I mentioned, is Dorian and Aeolian. So minor because it sounds sad. Well, there are other reasons why. The choice of notes, right? A flattened third and all. But let's talk basics. Let's not make it complicated. Listen, happy. So this minor chord, I'm going to try and play the Dorian and Aeolian. So that's a Dorian, like a re mi fa sol la ti do re do ti la so fa mi re. So that's, and from this you can improvise and make it your own anyway. So you see how it sounds a bit like, ooh, what's happening there? Yeah, I'm just playing around with the Dorian. So when you get the notes in your head, like it goes like, you can form any pattern you want. For example, you can decide to play the first three notes and move on. What I mean is this. So that's just one pattern. You can go. So You are forming your own thing based on the allowable choice of notes, which what scales are succession of notes based on a predefined formula, right? And that's the Dorian I explained on a minor chord. The same thing applies if I was using an Aeolian. So this time, instead of thinking of this as a second degree or as a re, I'm going to think of it as a la. Get it? So it's like a la, 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 so, la, ti, do. So la, ti, do, re, mi, fa, so, la, so, fa, mi, re, do, ti, la. So see, it's similar to the Dorian, but listen again. So that's the guy that's different. This naughty guy right here is the difference between the Dorian and the Aeolian, but they still all work on the same minor chord, right? But the feel is slightly different. Listen to how it sounds. Aeolian, Dorian. So there's a bit of something's happening there, yeah. So anytime you hear a minor chord, once you develop how the Dorian sounds or the Aeolian sounds, as a guitarist, as a bass player, as a singer, then you are able to explore those opportunities. Even with music directors, harmonies, you can explore the Dorian modes when you're harmonizing, because when you hear the minor chord, you are not restricted by the key. You just go like, ooh, D minor. Therefore, what happens next? That's it. And you start developing your harmonies, your ad-libs, your riffs and your runs based on that foundation of modes. So I want to encourage you to really work on yourself, right? As a guitarist, as a bass player, as a music director, you can explore so many dangerous harmonies. Make it your point to give God the best. Improve on yourself. It's not okay to be in a choir and be singing and playing the same way for the past 5 years. Otherwise, join the ushering team or join the Red Cross. Because singing or playing might not be your gifting. Who knows? But if you've chosen to spend your time to give God the best in the choir, then I want to encourage you to keep doing your best. Explore. And this is just the beginning. We're speaking about just 2 basic principles that you can use to explore and build your plethora of expression as a music director, as a guitarist, as a bass player, as a lead singer. So be encouraged. There's a lot out there. Go fish them out. Work on yourself. Let's work together to give God the best.
Love it with all your heart, all your heart. Love it expressible. Love it expressible. Come on, put your hands